Good morning, lovelies. We are back at it again. Another cooking basic, something easy and basic for you to make in your kitchen. We are going to make a single layer yellow cake from scratch without using a mixer. Don't use a box. When you use a box, you have to add the liquid and the eggs anyway. You have to mix it. You have to prepare your pan. This is just a few steps more. And it's homemade and it's yours, and you put your love into it and your personality. You can add stuff if you like to add stuff. You can change it up. Make it yours. That's what I want to teach you to do. That a recipe is a suggestion and you can take it and run with it. We're not going to use a mixer. We're going to use a whisk. You have to whisk some air into it to make it light. We have in this bowl already 1 cup of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. That is our dry ingredients. I fluff up my flour before I measure it so that I get a lighter measurement. So those are my ingredients, my dries. They're going to sit and wait for us. I have 2 eggs that are at room temperature. Now, if your eggs are cold and you decide you have to make a cake right now, just submerge the cold eggs in warm water for just a few minutes, and that will bring them to room temperature. So I'm going to crack my 2 eggs in my bowl. And then I'm going to whisk them fairly vigorously. I'm going to pop the yolks, because then you don't shake the yolks around the bowl. You're breaking up the eggs so they can disperse evenly, but you're also whipping in air. Now I'm going to add 1/2 cup of sugar, and I'm going to whip it some more until the sugar is dissolved. I'm going to get it mixed in first, and then I'm going to give it some whisks. This is good exercise. At my age, this and walking is about all I get. I do like to walk. I'm dissolving the sugar as well as incorporating more air. Okay. I have 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. Now, the recipe and the ingredients are going to be in the description. 1/4 cup of milk, and about a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm going to give those a good whisk just to incorporate them. Done with the whisk. Going to grab a spoon. I'm just going to carefully add my dry ingredients all at once into my wet ingredients. I'm going to start off by folding, just because I don't want to wear all the flour, like I just did. That was funny. All right. Going to give it a good mix till all the white is gone and the lumps are incorporated. That is it. Our batter is ready to go into the pan that we are going to prepare. My oven is set at 350 degrees. It has been heating up very quietly behind me while we have been working. Into the sink that goes. I have my batter. Let's take a minute and prepare the pan and come right back. You could spray this pan in order to put your cake batter in it, but I like parchment paper in the bottom with a little bit of butter around the edges. I like what it does to the sides of the cake, but feel free to spray if you don't want to go through this. I don't ever have that little piece stuck in the bottom of the pan when I do it this way. So I have my parchment paper, and this is how I have found the best way to make it fit a round pan. It's a little bit wider than the pan. I'm going to fold it in half, roughly. This does not have to be exact. Fold it in half again. And then I'm going to fold it keep the little point and fold it onto itself. This reminds me of making a paper airplane, or when we used to make snowflakes in kindergarten. Remember that? Maybe you don't. Have our little pointed parchment paper. I'm going to turn the pan upside down. We'll lay the parchment paper near the center of the pan and just cut on the edge of the pan. That is it. Move this little scrap out of the way. Flip our pan over, and we have a round parchment paper that fits in our pan. Yay! Then to butter the pan, I have a little scrap of the parchment paper that I put a small amount of soft butter, and I'm going to run it around the sides of the pan. Not exact, just get the edges. Then since there's a little in the bottom, it will make my parchment paper stick right to the bottom. And then I'm just going to wipe whatever's left on this parchment paper onto that parchment paper. And we are done. Our pan is ready to receive the beautiful batter that we have worked so hard to make. All right, we have got the beautifully prepared pan. Now I just have my bowl with the batter. I'm going to pour it into the center of the cake pan. This is a 9-inch cake pan. I think most people tend to have 8-inch cake pans, which will work perfectly fine. You will end up with a thicker cake than and that is not a bad thing. I'm going to gently spread it from the center toward the edges. Give it a good shake. And it is ready to go in the oven for 18 to 20 minutes. If you're baking an 8-inch pan, you would put it in the oven for about 22 to 26 minutes. You're going to want to check it around 22 or 23 minutes. And when our time is up, I'm going to show you how to test to make sure it's properly done so you don't overcook it or undercook it. So you can serve your guests a beautifully baked, homemade yellow layer cake. Come right back. The timer just went off for our cake, so we are going to check and see if it is done. I had set the timer for 18 minutes. Here's the cake. Looks a little light to me, so I'm going to guess it's not quite done. I'm touching it. Oh, it is springing back very well. It is done. I'm cooking in my top oven. It cooks different than my bottom one. You can see the edges have a little bit of brown and they're pulling away from the side. So that is an indication that it's done. You can also use the toothpick test. Stick a toothpick in the center. If it comes out clean, it's done. But this baby is totally done. We're going to rest it on a rack for 10 minutes. Okay. All right, so our cake has been sitting for 10 minutes. I am going to take it out of the pan so it can finish cooling. I always give the pan a little shake. Oh, and you can see the cake moving, so I know it's not stuck. If it's stuck, you just take a knife and run it around the edge of the pan, but this one is not stuck. So I have a rack, turn it upside down, take the pan off. That was hot a little bit still. I'm going to peel off my parchment paper. That is a pretty, pretty layer cake. And then I'm going to take my other rack and just turn the cake so it's right side up. You don't have to do this. I just like it sitting on my counter looking pretty. So there we have it, a single layer yellow cake. If yours is in an 8-inch pan, it will be thicker. I like them thin, so I make it in a 9-inch pan. My kitchen, my rules, right? So in about half an hour, when it's completely cooled, we're going to come back and cut a slice and give it a taste. Our cake has been resting, yay. It is cool, we get to taste it now. This is the fun part. I have another rack. I'm going to flip it upside down, which is why you didn't have to flip it before. I like to see it sitting cooling right side up. I have a pretty plate. Just going to center it on the cake. Flip that. How beautiful is that? Yay! I have some powdered sugar. I don't really like icing on my cake anyway, but it's more refreshing and you can eat it with breakfast and coffee when it's not so sweet. So I have an old spice jar that I've had forever that I cleaned out very carefully, and I fill with powdered sugar so that I can do a nice powdered sugar sprinkle when I want to. So we put that on the cake. I'm gonna give it a slice. Let's see, just from the center out, from the center out. This is what we have. This is our cake. Put it on a pretty plate. I think pretty plates are important. There you have that. It's light, it's airy. And I got some strawberries in my grocery store this morning because they were fresh and they were on sale. So I'm gonna put a few of those on my plate to add color and interest to the flavor. You could use strawberries, blueberries, you can add whatever you like. Whipped cream would be very good on it, a small dollop of ice cream. When you're baking it, you can add orange zest, and that'll give it a beautiful orange flavor, or lemon zest. Zest is a wonderful thing to add because of all the oils in it. It adds a really good burst of flavor, and because you're not using the juice, you're not adding liquid to your cake. So yay, that's something to think of. So that's what we have. I'm gonna taste just the cake. It is very light and fluffy. This is a good breakfast. It's a yellow cake, what can I say? It's good. With a raspberry. Wasn't sure about the raspberry, but I like it. That is a very simple yellow cake. That is the basics of how to mix a cake. So now you can change ingredients and make any flavor cake you want. You have a great start. Make it double the recipe, you have 2 layers. I prefer 1, but you make it any way you want because your kitchen, your rules. Thanks for stopping in. If you learned anything or got a chuckle, please give me a thumbs up. They say it really helps in the algorithm. I don't understand that part of YouTube. And if you subscribe, you'll get to learn a lot more kitchen basics. Thanks again for stopping in. Have a great day.